The Center, with your host, DC Radical One.
Greetings, Black family, and welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. You can check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio at On the Wake Up Radio. More important than all that, you can check us out at onthewakeupradio.com. That's onthewakeupradio.com. And also, you can check us out at our social media platform. That's otw2.com. That's otw2.com. And I am proud to announce that not only am I on OTW2 at DC Radical 1, but the Irritated Genie is on otw2.com. That's right. Brother Irritated Genie has made an otw2.com account, and you can go there. He'll be posting content after his upcoming lecture this Saturday. He has a lecture upcoming Saturday at 2 p.m. and it's a strategic battle plan for Black people. And I'll try to find that. I thought I had it, but I'll try to find the flyer and put that up shortly. So, greetings and straight Black pride to Sister Nina, BB for Odie, and straight Black pride to Sister Farnessa, and of course, BB for Odie to the good brother you got ripped off. And I can't remember what day it was. I believe it was Saturday, but the good brother you got ripped off was interviewed on the hour interview by our wonderful producer Cindy Ashby. So I'm not sure how you can check that out, brother. You got ripped off. If you know how to check that out, how they can check that out, put that in the comments. And also, this morning, some of you all, I'm sure, missed it. I was on the Kimathi Lives radio show. That's Brother Irritated Genie's radio show. On a station out of I believe Birmingham, Alabama, and we talked about Black male female relationship issues and the gender war, and all those things. Yes, sister, they lectured this Saturday. Last time I talked to Genie, he said he will be live streaming it from his platform. So he'll be live streaming it from his Social Architects platform. And Brother You Got Ripped Off has put the link there. I have postponed my own lecture that I had planned until next month. I'm just going to take some time off, try to enjoy my birthday. My birthday is coming up. It's coming up at the in a few weeks. And Sister Nina said, "Great topic show this morning." Thank you, sister. We're going to do a part two, so we will. The part two right now looks like it'll be next Monday. I'm gonna try to get my schedule together so I can do it next Monday, so that it'll be back to back and back to black weeks. The show's only an hour, and we really just got into it. We didn't get into it heavy, and the brother said they normally don't even get as many calls as we had. I think we had, if I'm not mistaken, 3 callers. It may have been one other person on the line as well. Greetings to Sister Shaniqua. So yeah, so we did that this morning. I'm not actually sure where. I'm not sure if they have replay. I'm sure they have replays, but I'm not sure how to access those replays. If I find that out, I will put that in the description box of this discussion. Just try to see if anybody else has come in. So, and as of right now, um, our wonderful producer is editing my Death and Rebirth of the Goddess Black Woman lecture that I did in March. Man, it's been almost 2 months that quick that I did in March. She's editing that. The plan is to have that available. Um, the plan is to have that available around the time of my birthday, like right after my birthday. So, some of you all who have supported all of my lectures and everything, some of you all will get a complimentary copy. Really, you got ripped off because you always donate to the Cash App and everything. You'll definitely get a complimentary copy as um, as it's available. In fact, I believe she sent it to me to be send it to me so I can so I can look over it and see if any adjustments need to be made. But I'm not. I haven't had a chance to look at it. I had a chance to look at one section because I've divided them in two sections. Uh, but I looked at one section. We had to make some adjustments. We had miscommunication on some formatting, and then I had to do some. Then we had to do some additional editings because those of you who saw the live stream, apparently part of the live stream got a little wonky or whatever. So I had to make some adjustments to that. Peace and blessings to Brother Crow. Um, oh, she told you. She told him. Yeah. So yeah. It was yeah, it was but what I looked at so far looks pretty good. So once we get everything cleaned up, I plan to have some physical copies made and have them available on Social Architects on the War on Horizon site, and I will figure out once I get because I'm gonna try to get Brother Genie to edit the Dr. Collett lecture, and I'll figure out who will do the next one. So once I get, once I get all four of the lectures on video the way I want them, then I will set up a way to get that you all can get that directly from me. As far as at least the digital, those who want a digital download, you'll be able to get that directly from me. And any DVD physical copies, probably will make that available on warnerhorizon.com. Um, that's the thought right now. It's not etched in stone. So, look forward to that. Straight Black Pride to Unique One Express. I didn't see you come in. And so that is all the preliminary information. I was going to actually do this show. It's so funny. I was going to actually do this show last night, and brother, um, you say, am I doing? You say, am I going or am I doing one, brother? You got ripped off. You mean, am I doing a show for Malcolm or am I actually going? Because normally before Small has pushed pause on the world, I would go up to New York, but I'm not going this. We haven't set a trip up. I mean, so there's a 90% chance I'm not. There's a 95% chance that I'm not going to New York this year. If that's what you're asking. If you're asking something different, then put that back in the chat. Um, you say, "Am I doing something?" Uh, I may do a. I to be honest, I hadn't planned on it just because of the way my schedule fell and the way it is on the with everything going on. Like I said, before the pandemic, um, I was going to New York every year. Yeah, pretty much every year. I had gone like 6 out of 8 years, the last 8 years before that, something like that. And Straight Black Pride had took a trip for three of those, from DC up to New York. And so I wasn't able to organize that this year just because of my schedule. Um, so if I do anything, I'll do a show recapping and talking about Malcolm's life and legacy. That's up in the air. I just put it like that. That's up in the air. I really, to be honest, I really hadn't thought about it. I'm not gonna lie, I had not thought about it. So, as I was saying yesterday, I had planned yesterday to do a show, and I had planned yesterday to do a show on today's topic, which is why Black people so comfortable disrespecting each other publicly. And I looked up on Instagram, and brother Omawale Africa, shout out to that brother. He was doing a show at the same time on the same exact subject. And this was after I saw, I believe it was Erica Lachey had did a show with a very similar topic. So I decided, I'm like, you know what? I'll let the brother do his show. I'll just move it back a day. And I didn't even watch his show, not because I didn't want to support him, but I didn't want whatever ideas he discussed to filter into my mind, and basically I'll end up repeating what he said, right? So I wanted to avoid that. Um, so what sparked this, of course, really was between the Will Smith Chris Rock situation, right? And then the celebration by some of the feminists on Twitter and other places. The celebration, open celebration of the uh, death of YouTuber, celebrity, um, what was his title? What did he call himself? Image consultant Kevin Samuels. And so I started thinking about it. I'm like, you know, as far as I know, I'm the only person on social media that I know of who celebrates the deaths of our enemies. Unique One Express. Anybody that follows me on Instagram knows if a famous Urugu um, kicks the bucket, I have a ceremony for that every time. Every time. And if you familiar, y'all, you follow me on Instagram, you know what it is. So any Urugu that returns back to hell, they get a I play a special song just for them. So I say, I celebrate the the expiration date of our enemies. You know, I admit that. So if anybody want to be like, oh, well, you're a hypocrite because I've been to your page, yes, I did. Yes, I do. And guess what? If I'm here tomorrow and some Urugu returns to hell tonight, he's gonna get the same treatment that the other ones got. In fact, it seems like it's been a while since somebody famous, what I'm saying, rolled up out of here. I must be either I'm not on my job and I'm missing it, or it's about that time. So, but with that being said, um, the fact that we are so, I mean, something has changed in the mind of the Negro, right? And it can filter into the mind of Africans because we're in the vicinity of Negroes. And I wanted to talk about that and explore that and try to figure out, because I don't really know for sure why this is happening. And so I just wanted to look at some examples first. Like I said, we all saw, even if you ain't said that night. And I didn't even know what that, not the Grammy, what was that? The Oscars? That was at the Oscars. The Will Smith Chris Rock thing. I didn't even know, when did they move the Oscars and the Grammys to the same month? Like I had no idea. I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea. I just came on social media the next day. Everybody was talking about the same thing. I had no clue what was going on. I was totally out the loop with that. And then when I saw it, it looked. I thought it was fake. I was like, "Yo, this can't be real." Like, it's one of the most famous actors in the world, one of the most famous comedians in the world. Um, and Chris Rock said a joke because that's what he gets paid to do. you know, then Will Smith comes up there and assaults him, and I'm like, is this really real? And the thing is, the bad part about it is that however you take the joke, let's say the joke wasn't funny. I really don't have any feel about it one way or another, really. But the fact that Will Smith would, for whatever reason, whatever motivated him, it's obviously has a lot of turmoil going on in his life because of the woman he's with. Which that's a whole nother show. We ain't even opening up that can of worms. Her whole family has issues. And that goes to speak to the African concept of marriage is not between two people, but between two families. So, for any young brothers that might listen to this later or listening to it now, understand that concept that you're not just marrying that woman, you're marrying that family and you're sharing that DNA. And even if you aren't marrying the woman and you being a baby daddy, you're still sharing that DNA with that family and all of the problems and issues and things that they have going on. Unless you completely abandon your children, you're going to have to deal with, and vice versa. And so the fact that two 50-year old, you know, because I'm in my late 40s. I think both of them are older than me. 50-plus-year-old black men. Well, I guess I can't really blame Chris Rock for being assaulted because he could have made it worse because he could have swung on him and it could have been a whole, it could have really looked crazy, which he probably should have, but that's another story. The fact that Will Smith, of all people, on that platform in that arena at that time would just break and assault that man publicly. I mean, we had the question has to be asked: would he, for that joke or any joke that he found mildly distasteful, would he have assaulted a European? I've seen Will Smith at a point where a European male attempted to kiss him out on some red carpet event, which to me that was crazy. And he just gave him a little light smack, like, "Hey, man, back up." Now, in my day, and me and Will Smith are basically from the same generation. Regardless of if you at your job, you in front of the police station, it's not relevant where you are. If a man attempts to kiss you, he's getting knocked clean out if you're physically capable of doing it. So his reaction to somebody assaulting him and his reaction to this situation were completely different, right? Sister Star says Will didn't go through this trauma with his first wife. I'm sure his first wife's family was nowhere near as uh, dysfunctional as his second wife's family. You know, and brother, you got ripped off says from what I heard about others, the joke also goes after Jada's public sex life. Okay, I don't I don't know. I don't know anything about that, brother. I have no clue about any of that. But my point is he could have easily. and I mean easily, because they all know each other. He could have met him backstage afterwards, and if he wanted to, just really just worked him over. you know, I mean, he could have handled it like gentlemen. Like, look, let me talk to you outside. I mean, we all know that, but it's not even the point of the joke. It's not. None of that is really relevant. The only thing that's relevant is why are black people so comfortable humiliating each other in public, but we have no smoke for Urugu. See, if we were humiliating Urugu and smacking them up and throwing them off the top of buildings, I wouldn't care. I'll just be completely honest. But we have no smoke for Urugu. And in this case, I'm largely talking about us, the black man. I ain't even the sisters ain't even really a part of that discussion. We'll get to that part. But and I don't even think I got the article loaded up because I wanted to bring up this article to prove my point about what I'm saying. Let me see. Um. Okay, here we go. Y'all know it's been a while, so me getting this stuff to work the way I want it to work is that's not even the right article. Hold up. Now let's see. Let me bring it up. Oh, anyway, give me a second with that. And Zenga says, "At what point do we applaud black men for standing up for black women? Because I was a bit concerned at the celebration of Kim Sanders coming from some in the so-called conscious community." Well, I'm gonna get to that. Apparently, you didn't listen to the show, the radio show this morning, so I'm getting to that later. Um, the whole standing up for black women thing is a slippery slope because my thing with black women is okay, you don't like Kevin Samuels, and you have reason not to. Let's be clear about that. And like I said this morning, and like I said yesterday on Instagram, if you wanted to argue, so forth, so on, a person like that, well, no, not a person like that. Kevin Samuels was dangerous because he was the one with the most influence, and nobody else was even close that I saw anyway. Because he'll mix truth with falsehood, and he'll get people to agree with him on the basis of half truths, right? And then that is easier to cause division by mixing truth with falsehood than it is by telling the whole truth or a whole lie. You see what I'm saying? So for me, that's what I said. That's why he's dangerous or was dangerous. Because some of the things he was saying would be true. And some things I agree with, and not because he said it, but because I held the position before he even came around. Because I remember when he was in talking about fragrances and asking dudes about the size of their sausage. Okay. So that's way back. That's when he was only talking to men and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And see, everybody forgets that part or didn't see it or haven't seen it. And I don't know if the videos are still up or whatever. And I'm like, yo, what's wrong with this dude? That's yeah. There's just a rule. Because again, we're talking about people from the same generation. There's a rule. There's no discussion of a man discussing another man's sausage, regardless of whom or what. You see what I'm saying? And he did that. I didn't see it initially when he did it. Somebody sent me the clip much later on why he was blowing up. Um, and he was very disrespectful to the men, but nobody paid attention to it because he wasn't that popular. He would say some stuff. He would say some stuff to dudes on the internet that if you say to a dude in person, I hope your hand skills are up. I just put it like that. Uh, Brother Crow said, "Have I listened to the Minister of Wellness?" No, I have not. I have not. Um, well, well, brother, I've seen a picture of the woman that they say it was, and she's like some type of Mexican or something. So it was a, which doesn't surprise me. You know, I know I've been knew a long time ago that his love for non-black women. Because I saw a video he did and I saw his reaction to a white woman walking up to him asking him was he famous and his reaction to it. So you know what I'm saying. I'm not here to debate the whole Kevin Samuels thing because I probably have been sent more clips of his stuff and asked more questions of his stuff than almost everybody in the room. And it just was something that I didn't feel like at the time getting into because he's a Negro, right? And he's going to do what Negroes do. He's just a Negro that was popular. But people were telling me, hey, man, this dude, he has a lot of influence. You might want to watch, you might want to see what he's doing, you might want to check it out because you might want to, debunk some of the stuff and so forth, so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. Well, now I guess we do and we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to worry about it because it's not making any more content. We do have to worry about it because people have said that they're going to try to, for lack of a better word, carry on his mission. Which, I don't know. Who knows what that will entail? Brother Crow says he's a feminized man, and we can't forget they used to work in the fashion industry. Oh yeah, no. He had some extremely, like again, like I said on Instagram, he had some extremely feminine ways. You know what I'm saying? We questionable. I'm just be honest. When I saw him, when I saw some mannerisms, I was like, oh, I'm not sure. you know. So, like I said, at that time, questionable sexuality. He had he talked about it on one of his shows. Seemed like nobody heard the show but me, which is the weirdest thing because people listen to all his stuff. But when I talk about the particular show where he talked about his relationship with his mother, he had a strained relationship with his mother, and basically said she finally got her S together, which is kind of weird talking about your mother like that on in front of the world. But whatever. Um, so that was obvious, but no one like people just missed that or whatever happened. They overlooked it, blew it away. And then somebody sent me a clip. This was not from his show. This was from um actually I don't know what the source was, but there was a clip, and I wish I had it, but I don't. Because I like I said, I don't even know what the source was of him. Basically, him and some other brothers. I don't know if this was something from Clubhouse or I just had no idea. I don't know if it was YouTube live stream. I don't know. But anyway, the point being is that he uh, basically said that black women were the least physically attractive based upon some type of European scale or whatever. Like apparently the Europeans have come up with some figure or some equation, mathematical equation or something dealing with physical attractiveness, dealing with symmetry of the face and all this stuff. But of course, the point is very simple. When you're European minded, then you will use European measuring sticks to prove your point. There's no way. I don't care what's going on. I don't care what nobody talking about. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care if I'm the last man on earth to say it. And can't nobody convince me that on a universal scale, that when we talk about the best looking women, can't nobody convince me black women not on top. I don't care what you're talking about. You can't convince me. I I don't care nothing about no measurements and no mathematical. I don't care about none of that. I got two eyes. They work. you know what I'm saying? And let's be realistic. We wouldn't be able to see. I don't know if y'all saw the TikTok thing. I know there's no sisters ain't want to talk about this, by the way. that TikTok thing where all our young sisters are running around and they playing a song, and the song asking them who they with, and the song talking about with my master, and the sisters is with Yurugu, right? And Yurugu holding them up by their shirt like they lynching them. And this is on TikTok, and this is what our daughters are doing, but don't nobody want to talk about that part, right? So Yurugu's son is choosing our daughters, but according to people, so there's some universal scale why women don't look the best, whatever. So again, we dealing with Negroes. But the point, in fact, that whole TikTok thing goes to publicly disrespecting ourselves. Like, what parenting is happening where we're not talking to our children to think? I mean, there's some of the stuff I see, especially with our children, is crazy. And TikTok, a lot of it comes out on TikTok. The cooning and the black self disrespect that I see on TikTok is I can't. That's why I don't get on after everything I see on there. Some coonery. It's unbelievable, but that's where our young people are. So somebody has to go over there and put up something positive, because the stuff that's coming out with all the what they call it, the challenges and the trends, it's just it's insane. So it goes to show we're why we're so willing to humiliate each other, because we humiliate ourselves. So let me see if I can share this. Um, let me see, hold on, because I might have to take this down and load it back up, because I don't know why it's not letting me share this particular screen. If not, this is not what I want to do. But what I wanted to talk about, and maybe I'll talk about it right now. I'll try to, since I can't share it with y'all, it's irritating me. Sure, it's been a month since last time I did this, but we're gonna go back to last year and talk about, because this is just one of them. But this is a trend that's going on amongst our young people too. When rapper Pop Smoke was killed last year, after he was killed and he was buried, Negroes went and desecrated his grave. Now, I don't know anything about Pop Smoke, right? I don't know his music. I know what he looks like. I If I've heard his music, I didn't even know it. The discussion is not about Pop Smoke. The discussion is our young people hate each other so much that even if you're dead, people will come and desecrate your grave. And he's his that situation with his grave is just the most famous example. But this is a trend amongst our young people. I saw an article where a rapper got killed and his rival went and had relations with his baby mama on his grave. I'm gonna say that again. Two rappers are beefing. All right. They didn't say it, but probably over this girl. One rapper gets killed, the rival rapper gets with his baby mama and has relations with her on the man's grave and videotapes it. This is not how black people used to think. This is not how black people used to act. Even in the days in the middle of the crack epidemic, when and even in LA, and sister Nina still here. You tell me if I'm lying. Even in the middle of the gang wars, where they would actually shoot up. Now that time was crazy. People would shoot up. People would shoot up the funeral, but nobody was. And maybe because people didn't have videos. Maybe that's it. I don't remember hearing stories about people desecrating your grave. Okay, you did. All right, you did. We got him. There was a time black people didn't even go in graveyards at night for anything. I don't care what's going on, unless you were paid to do it. Before then, straight black proud of brother Elijah. So this disrespect of black people by black people even extends into death. That's where we are mentally. So that's why when I saw the celebration of Kevin Samuel's death, I saw it disturbing not because of him, but because of the fact that where are the black people celebrating the death of these crackers? Besides me. Like I said, if somebody famous dies tonight, another one bites the dust, is going up on my Instagram. Without question. Y'all already know. But we only seem to celebrate the death of each other. The rappers celebrate the death of other rappers. Women celebrate the death of a YouTuber. If we can't, if and my thing is, we we have to be mature enough to be able to respectfully disagree. We have to be mature enough to be able to disagree agreeably. And Sister Nzinga says this speaks to the lack of leadership slash eldership. The elders aren't in the lives of some within the new generation. Just that OGs are not available to pull up on younger gang members. Right. I mean, the 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 disconnect between the young and the older in general is greater than I've ever seen it. And that point, right? This is what's deep. That void allowed someone like a Kevin Samuels to come up. Because one of the things that Kevin Samuels would ask women is, what do your father think? Or where is your father? Which I don't know what his motivation was for the question, because I I would generally make the assumption if they're calling you to ask you questions and they're 25, 30 years old, you kind of know the answer to that question before you even get started. But it is what it is. Brother, you got ripped off says in New Orleans the graveyard fornicate happens, but it's in historic old graveyards. Creeped me out when you found about it in the 90s. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna leave that down in New Orleans. I don't even want to touch that. I don't know what y'all doing down there, brother, but But I know you don't live there no more, so you're not claiming it either. Brother Crow says we live in a wicked land and we don't have any smoke for them and the small hats. Zero. Exactly. None. Which is my whole point. Like, see, if you're gonna be an equal opportunity hater, then I'm not mad at you. but I don't see it. Unique One Express says it seems that the temperature, degenerate behavior amongst many of our people is getting worse and worse. I tell you, it's some witchery going on. Has to be. I don't know about witchery. I have to say it's some hattery going on. The hats have completely locked the mind of the Negro. And Sister Star says many of the OGs got locked up during the crack era, and that left everyone on their own. Right, because there were rules of engagement. I'm trying to think who. Oh, yeah. When I read Monster Cody's book, way long time ago, and he would talk about that they had rules of engagement. That there was things, rules and guidelines for to gang banging. I'm sure all of that kind of went out the window at some time in the '90s. But here's the thing: I was talking to a sister about this. In 1995, in October of 1995, me and a million black men made a pledge to go back into our communities and try to make our communities better and organize amongst ourselves. That pledge, for us to be in this condition, had to have been broken by well over 90% of the men there. This is just a fact. So, if we're going to start with who's to blame for a lot of stuff, the million plus men that were there were the ones that made a pledge. If every other black person or every other black man, and there were some sisters that came out to support too. If every other black man in that era, and there were some that were teenagers to 70-year olds. I'm going to assume that most of the 70-year olds are not here. Even if they are, they're exonerated from what I'm saying. But a large percentage of those men, for whatever reason, and everyone has an individual story, failed that pledge. Also, the person who organized that event made I'll say, miscalculation. And this is not to lay everything in the world at their feet. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that they made a miscalculation that it was better to uh, go around the world and try to build friends around the world than it was to solidify what was built in that time. Right? We can argue what the motivations were. At this point, it's not really relevant to adjudicate that part of the past. But it is of something of historical note that that pledge was taken by a million men. I know I was there. I went from the front, right at the front, when it was still dark, to all the way towards the back. Well, yeah, not toward the back, but toward the middle, and stayed out there literally from sunup to sundown. In fact, I actually don't think I went to sleep the night before. And me and some brothers that I rode with, and I don't see brother Dawood here because he was one that I rode with, him and a couple of other brothers. Um, yeah, and we did that, and that took place, and all that energy, all that organized, all that everything dissipated, and you don't even hear people mention that event except when you had the 20th anniversary, what, in 2016. And don't get me started on that because that was a whole nother discussion. So the men have to take responsibility for the downward spiral that we're in now. if no other men, those million men. And I'm sure some have passed on, some have done whatever they did. Some got locked up, some got murdered, but I'm sure there was still good 750,000. And one thing we underestimate, because I've been around a long time, I've been in this movement a long time. Again, I just told you about an event that was 27 years ago that I was at. In the 90s to the early 2000s, we lost a lot of black male leadership. Uh, Amos Wilson, Dr. John Henry Clark, of course, the greatest to me, the greatest loss was Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. We lost Dr. Chancellor Williams in the early 90s. Um, Dr. Shaka Musa Barshango, and there's some others. Baba Dale Jones, probably in the early 2000s. I can't remember the exact year. And being completely honest, that those two generations of men, of black male genius and scholarship and love of black people, losing all those people, and then it being capped off with the loss of the Black Power general. Uh, right, but Baba Steve Coakley was a little bit later, brother. I think. Now you correct me if I'm wrong. I thought Baba Steve Coakley was a little bit later. But losing all of these people within a 10-year span was far more detrimental to us than we realized, in my opinion. It's one thing to try to replace one genius, but how can any people replace Amos Wilson and Dr. Khaled within a 6-year span? Or losing them in a 6-year span. Baba Kwame Ture at the same time. He said he believed the government gave him cancer. If he believed it, I believe it. You know, I'm sure I'm probably still missing somebody. We don't think that matters. That mattered. Losing Dr. Khaled sent me in a tailspin away from this movement for almost a decade. Because at the time we had lost so many people, I didn't think there was anybody left. I didn't think there was anybody doing anything. And the funny thing is, Brother Genie was doing some work with PKV at that time. I never knew they existed. And we, you know, in the same city. And brother, you got ripped off. Said, let's not forget all of them weren't in it. Right? No, that's what I'm saying. They, um, Dr. Khaled and who else was I thinking about? And Dr. Khaled and Amos Wilson were a little bit older than I am now. So we lost men who very much. Dr. Amos Wilson was very much in his intellectual prime, and then the second blow was that, in large measure, with the exception of the noted exception of Baba Coakley's son, that I can think of just off the top of my head. So don't, if it's other people, don't jump down my throat and be like, "Nah, what about Brother So?" I don't. Many of them um, did not have their lineage Even if it continued physically, their lineage didn't continue physically and spiritually. I went to Dr. Ben's funeral. I saw his now very extended family because he lived a long time. There weren't a lot of people who you could tell were following in their footsteps, and you know, they could have walked by you. You'd never know. So that's another thing that happens. We talk about the disconnect in the Negro community, but many times some of our greatest scholars, some of our greatest teachers, their children, for various reasons, don't take up the mantle. Sometimes not even part of the movement. And then, if in the case of Baba Malcolm, after seeing the father do the work and seeing what Malcolm became, none of the daughters really carried the mantle. But Malcolm Latif was just dipping his toe in when they had him assassinated. I met I had the good fortune to meet Malcolm Latif one time, but not the good fortune to spend a lot of time with him. I regret it to this day. You just assumed he would be around because he's much younger than I am, and he's just beginning to really see what's going on in the world. They neutralized that threat immediately because, as I always say, the European believes in the Black Messiah much more than we do. They believe in the Black Messiah much more than we do. That's why certain people's lineage they keep harassing the family and they keep tabs on the family because they're waiting for the family to produce another one of the same people. Sometimes it might skip a generation, so that's why you got to pay attention. That's why it's so important. And even though, and we're in a time where goodness, we're in a time where it's much more difficult for brothers to find a woman that they feel can continue their lineage and continue their legacy. Because as a man that's doing this work, you just have to assume you're gonna die first. It's kind of the way it goes. If you're lucky and you don't, hey, chalk it up. But you just have to assume when you're looking for a queen, you have to assume you're gonna die first. You have to have somebody that at least is going to organize your writings into a book or connect all your lectures and put them some on a website so people can purchase them so that your work doesn't die or whatever. You see what I'm saying? However she, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Garvey's second wife put together philosophy and opinions while he was incarcerated. Without her, that stuff is lost in the dustbin of history. That's why I try to. That's why I try to get the sisters to understand their importance to the movement. Ain't no there. The reason I talked about this a little bit this morning. The reason the movement hasn't been as strong in the post-integration era is one because of integration, right? Just plain and simple. The longer we're in an integration, the more we become like Yurugu, the less it's appealing when somebody says that we should be ourselves and do for ourselves. That's one. That's just a fact. It's an observation made from 30 years of study. Two, the women have not been as interested and as strongly represented and as dedicated in the last two generations as they were before. That's not an accident. I talked about it this morning. Gloria Steinem wrote April 4th, 1969, after Black Power, Women's Liberation. Gloria Steinem, feminist, small hat, CIA agent Gloria Steinem. Literally, that was, I mean, she literally wrote out the plan, what it was going to be. It took a while, but a generation later, black women are talking about intersectionality. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Now, kind of after Black Power. So the enemy knows how to short circuit our situation. Right? And so now here we are, defiling and desecrating each other in death. Oh, thank you, sis. You listen this morning? Thank you. And we can't even agree to disagree. Remember the old discussion where people were like, well, we just gonna agree to disagree. We don't even do that anymore. Like it's gotten so bad. At least, and it was a horrible situation. It was ridiculous at the time. At least after Biggie and Tupac got killed, the people were like, all right, this is crazy. Enough's enough. I remember um, listening to Snoop Dogg, and he said he was just like, all right, this is crazy. And he went to Minister Farrakhan, asked Minister Farrakhan to have a meeting. And him and all these rappers, they went and had dinner with Minister Farrakhan, and everybody just hashed out their beefs just right there. Who knows how many lives were saved? But again, why? And I don't know what influence he has. Why can't Snoop Dogg take that mantle and do that? And I know he's not connected to the Chicago rappers and things like that, but he's an OG now. Why can't him and some of these other older rappers who lived through that whole thing and had to buy bulletproof vests and bulletproof vehicles? I remember brothers were spending their money on bulletproof vehicles. Not that I blame them, because if I was in a situation and I had the money, I probably would have invested in a bulletproof vehicle. At that time, how many people got to get killed before you start doing that? But if you live through that, and I don't know what type of influence he has on this new situation, because half the time these rappers that get killed, I don't know who they are. So I don't know if these people are big. I don't know if they have a major label. I don't know if it's just some local guy who stuff is on the internet. I don't have any idea. Right? But why not dip your toe in that water? Because it's possible your life was saved. Brother, you got ripped off says, but we're live saved when you factor in the number of mental suicidal individuals we have due to rap music. Um, I will say still, yeah, because the maturity that you saw, at least through that generation, learn from that situation, is in the fact that nobody in Jay-Z and Nas's camp killed each other when that whole thing was going on, which was possible just based around the people that are around and Mob Deep and all that, you know. Because some of these people hung with real shooters, gangsters, and criminals. So, um, and that generation, the music wasn't as focused on the violence and things like that. If you really listen to it, like post Biggie Tupac for the next eh, 7 8 years before it just kind of dies out and the whole center of that music moves to a whole nother city, moves to Atlanta. It's kind of a different vibe than it was. Gangster rap wasn't as popular. You start hearing more party music and things like that. Now the next generation comes along and they're doing something totally different, and it is what it is. Chicago's started doing the drill music thing, which I'm not even sure when that happened, but then that is the source of a lot of this insanity now. And hold on, speaking of which, it was another article I wanted to read if I can find it. Because there's some new thing out. I've never heard this before. Let me see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Do, do, do. Let me see. Uh, y'all just really making it difficult. All right, hold on. Let me see if I can take this and reset it. Because there's a new thing out. I'm just gonna read it to y'all. It says Jacksonville rapper posts death pic of his ops on IG and trolls his family. And this is from something called MTO News. I have no idea. I just found it earlier. And it says Jacksonville rappers are at the forefront, of a new trend called quote unquote demon rap, where artists do the most disrespectful things possible to dead members of rival gangs. Yesterday, MTL News learned that popular Jacksonville rapper Young Breezy did the unthinkable. He posted what many are calling a death pic of one of his ops, a rival gang member named Dank, and he covered the image with disrespectful tags like Dank Get Up and He a Pack Too. And unfortunately, social media reports say that Dank was too far gone and his family is believed to have pulled the plug on him. Somehow, MTO News learned that Young Breezy got a hold of an image of Dank fighting for his life and he decided to post it on Instagram. And they say they won't post it here, but you can look at the link. And the picture of the Young Breezy guy looks like he's 15 years old and he's holding a gun. This is where we are. This is what our children are doing. Um, Sister said, "Did the drill music come out around time?" I believe he's the one that made it popular. Brother, oh, actually, Brother Crow acts like he's answered. I think he's answered the question before we even got started. He says we have drill music, which started in Chicago, had many today's rappers that are involved in gang, street life, or being murdered that hasn't have benefited from that. Yeah, so yeah, my understanding is this music started in Chicago, and this trend of disrespecting the ops, quote unquote, is part of that. And brother, you got ripped off says, I wonder how much money these hats made on death of these brothers because just like Walmart takes out insurance policies on their employees, I'm sure labels do it too. Oh yeah, oh absolutely, brother, absolutely, no question, no question. Yeah, yeah. I think that's I can't remember. I heard somebody say that. I can't remember who it was. And Sister Nina says, does anyone think Kevin Samuels would have been famous if he wasn't disrespectful to black women? Has he ever been disrespected Has he ever been disrespected, approached by a black man due to disrespecting black women? Um, Not to my knowledge. Um, would he have been famous? He was, from what I saw, he was getting views. He didn't start getting views until he started doing the call-ins or uh, having the women on screen. He was, which, if I'm not mistaken, seemed like that coincided with the pandemic. So it's kind of a perfect storm thing because he completely reinvented himself. Completely. Like if you ever find his old stuff, he completely reinvented himself. Um, to be honest, he wasn't really from what I saw. He wasn't really talking real slick to women at first, and he was already garnering views because he was selling the corporate player lifestyle, right? Um, and what I mean by that is, if you saw his look before and you saw his look after, and in fact, I know when he actually came. I'm pretty sure I know when he actually came upon the idea because I saw him talking about uh responding to somebody else's video, and he was saying that all these people are talking about this, what we call the 666 man, 6 figures, 6 feet, 6 pack, six, you know the rest. um and everybody's talking about these men, and I'm one of these men, and nobody asked me what I want, and my friends are these men, and no one asked us what we want, blah 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 blah. I believe that's when he had that discussion. I believe that's when he got the idea to do his show, and then it evolved over time to focus primarily on the women. Because when he was focusing on the men and he was saying disrespectful stuff to dudes, he wasn't garnering no views. But when he got the women on and he started coming up, putting these words into the lexicon of the high value man and all that, and all these terms that he either he came up with or he introduced to the public. I'm not sure which. I don't know. And when sisters saw that, it represented what they desired, and so then they were the ones. Because I always tell people, sisters complain about it, I'm like, but if the women stop calling in or whatever, the show's over. I literally just expected that to happen over time, and him to just, after a year or two, just disappear like everybody else, like Tommy Sotomayor. Because I'll be completely honest, Tommy so Tom Tommy Sotomayor, from what I saw and the clips that people would send me and stuff, was way worse than Kevin Samuels ever was. But his audience wasn't black. So he was saying ridiculous stuff before. He probably was on for a few years before anybody even realized who he was and what he was saying. I mean, the stuff he was saying was absolutely insane. And Tommy Sotomayor got a dark skinned daughter. But somebody told me he was being paid by white supremacists to say what he was saying, do what he was doing. And people did pull up on him. He came to New York. Some brothers from, I think, Philly did put hands on him, but not the way they should have. But again, nobody remembers that. Nobody even remembers Tommy Sotomayor. you know, to be honest. And like I said, he was anyway. Um, but back to our young people, they the newest trend. I want y'all to think about what I just said because I just saw that article. today, and I was trying to prepare for the show, and I had to take a call. Um, somebody was having a situation, so I had to deal with that. Try to talk to them. So I wasn't able to bring up everything, have everything set up like I wanted to. But I want to read this part again. Black people, rappers in Jacksonville, Florida, are at the forefront of a new trend called demon rap. Our children are now openly advocating demonism and demonic behavior in the way that Europeans did openly when what was that group? Kiss and Ozzy Osbourne and some of them other people were back in the, I guess that was the 80s, I think. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. We have gone, these are our young people, this is our future. Talking about demonism and disrespecting the dead is becoming their way of thought. This is how bad off we are. This stuff goes way beyond Kevin Samuels or Tommy Sotomayor. We in a crisis situation because I'm more looking at the young people, and I'm looking at the young males. Because I did a whole lecture for the sisters, so I don't even have to rehash that. You can get the. I'll let you know when you're able to get the Death and Rebirth of the Goddess Black Woman, and then you can sit down, look at it, discuss it, whatever. Like I said, you get ripped off. You got ripped off. Gets his for free. But I don't. There's been no time in my lifetime where we have been in a worse condition. And I have become convinced that every generation that lives through integration gets progressively more insane. No one can prove to me otherwise. Every generation that we live amongst Yurugu, we get more insane. A perfect example, right? This morning, we okay. So the radio station I was on this morning is a quote unquote conscious radio station. We're talking about black female relationships, black male female relationships. I give some history going back to the Arab slave trade, move it up to this day and time. We're toward the end of the show. A sister has come on. She asked me a question. I can't remember the question right now. I can't remember. We talk. She says she kind of supported Kevin Samuels. I'm like, okay. I break down why he's dangerous, you know, so forth, so on. She agrees. Oh, she listens to that point. She didn't say she agreed. She listened. I think she said she understands my point. Fine. She says our young sisters are largely out of control, and she has a son, and she fears for her son because she's not sure how he's gonna find a wife. Understood. I think she stays on. Brother Genie asks her a question, talks to her for a minute. Again, this is a conscious station. right? So we have good dialogue with this sister. Brother Jenny tells her we need sisters like you because you have a good spirit and we can talk to you and we can dialogue and get information from each other and some understanding, right? Again, there's a conscious station. At the end of the show, some brother, I can't remember his name, don't know who he is, don't know if he normally calls it, I have no idea. Excuse me. Comes on there and basically attempts to justify interracial dating, but only for men, right? He comes on there, he talks about Kanye West. Talking about Kanye West says, talking about Kim Kardashian helping him make money and blah blah blah, yada yada yada. And I'm listening to this. And then he said something about marrying up and Brother Genie just like, oh, hold up. But my point is in all of this, it's just like no, well, two things. One, how disrespectful is it to the black woman on the line that we just had dialogue with that agreed with the major points that we made? That as soon as we get that, we get some agreement. We brothers complain all the time, can't get a woman to cooperate, can't get them to be agreeable, can't get them to do nothing we want to do. We got a sister on the line. She agrees. She's willing to listen and learn about what we're talking about. And then a Negro comes on. I don't care how many years he's been conscious or whatever. And start justifying Negroes being with white women and brings up Kanye West as if he's some type of positive example. As far as I'm concerned, he doesn't disrespect everybody in the panel because you trying to contradict everything we said for the first 54, 55 minutes of the show. And I'm like, I don't know if you ever listen to somebody because you think they're going to say something intelligent, so you give them the leeway that maybe they're going to weave their way back around. And I was listening and I was like, in my mind, I'm like, man, what did the dude talking about there, brother Jenny? Like, yeah, brother, well, come to the end of the show. But my point is, we're such Negroes that even in a media area uh, where we think most of the people will have some form of African sanity, somebody's going to pop up and try to justify cooning. And whether they, whether you meant to or not, be disrespectful, not only to the sister, especially to the sister, but to Brother Genie and to me. Because we represent straight black pride, and we're not trying to hear no excuses to lay up with no Urugu, and then to say, then he was talking about marrying up. And I told Brother Genie later, I said, yeah, I said the marrying up, he tried to make it like the marrying up was the money. I said, no, in the back of his mind, the marrying up is him getting with Urugu. That was the marrying up. That's what he was really saying, brother. And Brother Genie was like, yeah, I ain't even looking at it that way, but you're right. Sister Farnessa said, right, that didn't make any sense at all. Right, sister, I was just listening to him, and I was like, what? And says, that's why that's why you don't care for call-in shows, because people call in with the craziest stuff. Yeah, I wasn't even, because we were toward the end of the show, I wasn't even frustrated. I was just like, well, he's mighty bold. I was like, I didn't see that coming. If you had told me before the show started that start talking, and then I say something, and some sisters would come and disagree, like, "Oh, who is this guy and who made you authority?" I was waiting for that. When he came talking that backwardsness, I'm not even gonna lie. On that platform, I would I wouldn't be surprised if a troll came in here on this platform and did that. I would be more than I would expect that more here than there, just by the type of people they have on the different hosts they have on their station. Sis Vanessa says y'all were so on point when you brought up the fact that a lot of these dudes bring their non-black women back in the community and rubbing it in our face. Yeah. Sis, let me tell you something. We okay, so this is how crazy this stuff is. I remember now this has been some years ago. I remember talking to a sister years ago, and she was telling me about Nation of Islam Saviors Day. Now, you all know many years ago, last century, you know, I was part of the Nation of Islam. So Savior Day is like the big thing for the nation. Like that is the major event, right? You have the convention, and you have the annual lecture by whoever the leader is, and people come from all over the country, and you buy the whatever people have available. You have the vendors and all that. It's like one of the biggest things in them. It's the biggest thing in the nation, and other people who are not even in the nation will come out to it, right? And it's usually in Chicago. Sometimes it's been in some other places. One year, many years ago, it was in Ghana. So I'm talking to the sister. She's like, "Yeah, and these brothers now I went to Savior's Day, and they was with non-black women." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, you mean FOY?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Was with non-black women?" She's like, "Yeah." What's my point? My point is, if a sister can go to Nation of Islam Savior's Day and be disgusted because she see black men with non-black women there, where can sisters go where they don't feel disrespected by seeing brothers with non-black women? Straight black pride. That's it. I mean, I seen it. I seen some of the Hebrews, but they got non-black dudes in their stuff too. So it ain't it ain't just the women. They got they got some dudes that look like Urugu to me in some of their ranks, so-called Hispanic or whatever they supposed to be. I know Urugu when I see him. But it just goes to show that the insanity has reached places that were normally bastions of blackness. When Dr. Collar was there, you not bringing. You better make sure that sister, the light skinned sister, don't have all her hair covered. You understand what I'm saying? Sis Vanessa says, "Do you think Jenny will expand? Kimante lives for 2 hours. We need more shows like today, but they need to be longer without callers." Um, I don't, because he's a guest on that network, so I'm not even sure that's within his hands to do. And brother, you got ripped off says, "Don't be afraid to make a dual nation via the Cash App." And I'll say real quick because we're at the 1.5 hour mark, which I didn't plan to be on this long, but You can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical1, on Twitter at dc_radical_one, on OTW2, which is a black owned platform at DC Radical One. The Cash App, if you would like to donate, is $ DC Radical One. And of course, this is the YouTube, capital D, small c Radical One. And you can email me at dc.radical_one at protonmail.com. If it was not for the brother, I probably would not remember to do that. But that's why it's up on the screen. So again, and now Irritated Genie system is handled on OTW's Irritated Genie. Um, and now you have, I mean, you know the YouTube gender wars. I don't even feel like talking about it. It's just it's been going on for a long time. It's just insane, and people do it. So I think some people do it disingenuously because they know it's going to be popular, and that's not to say. And probably sometime next month, I'll try to have another platform, another group discussion of brothers and sisters. I'm just looking for the right people. Looking for some people younger than me because they're more kind of in the fire, so to speak. You see what I'm saying? And they can speak more to the current issue than I can. So that you can look forward to that soon. And that's always, and those shows are always popular. They always get a lot of views. We try to have constructive dialogue. I've seen shows where people they do that, and that's their standard format, and it just breaks down into total chaos. You know, the reason I like to do that kind of on my platform is I can kind of control the sway, the spirit of it, and of course who you pick matters now. Having having six African minded people versus having 6 to 8 Negroes is two totally different things. And hopefully it stays that way. Because the way things are going, you know, the mental side and the spirit of the hats is infiltrating the minds of all of us. The more we stay here, so just like evil is irradiating from them. And it affects all of us. As Bob Baruti says, you can't swim in a sea of insanity and not get wet. And so, um, we have to continue this fight. But I just wanted to really talk about how bad or as much is so beyond Kevin Samuels. And to our young people, it's so what they're where they are mentally, they're so far out there that I don't even know how you even relate to people who openly are embracing demonism. Like to me, you have you you have completely given up on life and then are expecting death and are living that way. And I do kind of understand that to a degree because I lived at a time where like the stat was, talking about what percentage of young men die before 25. And so I'm not gonna lie. My 25th birthday, I was the happiest black man on earth. Right? Because it was like, if you can make it to 25, in essence, it was like, if you can make it to 25, you can make it to 50. Which I'm almost there. So then I'll look for another 25 years. We just do this in 25-year increments. You know? But 10 years from now, I would like to be. I always tell people I like to be emeritus. You go to church and there's a pastor emeritus and he doesn't actually do anything. But look at the brother that he helped teach and train and watch him uh, shepherd the people, and he gives them some occasional advice. It's kind of what I want to be doing in 10 years. I mean, oh man, we need some sane young people, and I know some. Sometimes they come through and listen to the show. I mean, the assault on the mind of black youth is so much more thorough, and this social media, because what happens is each generation they roll out a different social media for them. So the older people are on the Facebook, the millennials are on the Twitter, but the Gen Z is on the TikTok. You see what I'm saying? And there's some people that overlap, but as far as I know, that like it generally kind of falls in that way. So unless a trend or something bleeds over, you don't even know what's going on unless you have those, unless you're involved in your children's life and you see what they're doing. You're like, oh, what are you looking at? And you're like, oh, what in the world? And brother, you got ripped off says, wow, brother, that's phenomenal thinking, because I had just hoped to make it to 12, then 16, then 18, then 21. Once I got to 25, I stopped examining my life in that way because it's kind of toxic. Yeah. And sister, you know what, Ron, put that up. Hope your mind, I'm put that up. And what the brother is saying, I understand, because it depends on what environment you grew up in. You feel that. And there was a time, right, before they really started breaking us down and just pushing the feminism in the secondary and tertiary education, where sisters understood that and sisters felt that. Like I grew up with sisters that understood. They understood. Brothers were getting killed. Brothers were getting locked up. You couldn't go to you couldn't go to the go-go, or go to a show or something without something crazy happening. And they understood it. That empathy seems to be largely gone now. And there are things that sisters go through. Like I remember, you know, going back to Kevin Samuels thing real quick, just quickly, I remember that a sister was saying something about uh, um, about colorism, and he kind of just brushed it off as if it's not a real thing. And I'm like, you don't even. It's. I didn't know that at the time, but you know, but looking at it, I'm like, it's very real because you don't like any black women. So what are you talking about? Now I don't know who he married or what. I have no idea. He has a child. I don't know. I don't know what none of these people look like. I just know that when he got money and got famous, I got to see what he liked. Right, since he said colorism wasn't in the black community. Right. And again, that's false. He did when the sister said it, he just shut it down immediately the time I saw it. He just like, no. Nah, I'm tired of y'all. You basically like I'm tired of y'all using that excuse. I'm like, is this dude serious right now? We're from the generation where we start seeing that stuff. Where all of a sudden all of the video vixens, you know what I'm saying, just start getting lighter and lighter. Sister Star said they get it from all angles: school, religious institutions, social media, homes, workplace. Right. Yeah, we're swimming in the sea of insanity. And it affects our children more than it affects us. But then again, we got some old Negroes that've been Negroes from minute one. It's like the same people that was arguing with me that the white man wasn't the devil in 1990 You know what I'm saying? It's probably, loving white folks right now as we speak. And Sis Fonda says he was deliberately being nasty to a lot of those sisters for no reason other than he knew that it would get him higher views. I don't I don't know either way, to be honest. I can't I don't know. I just thought to be completely honest, I thought it was a part of his personality based on his troubling and traumatic relationship with his mother that he talked about without meaning to. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you get on this mic, you start flashbacking and start talking about stuff. You don't even realize you said it. That's why I generally speak much faster in a general conversation than I do with this mic in front of me. Um, so with that, brothers and sisters, I've been on about 10 minutes longer than I wanted to be on. Again, don't forget about Brother Genie's lecture this Saturday, 2 p.m. It will be live streamed. Brother, you got ripped off. I think you put the link in before. If you could put the link in again before we close out. Again, I thank you all for listening. I thank you all for describing. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I noticed that I have not done a show literally in a month. You have no idea how time flies. And I just, be completely honest, I lose complete track of time. So I'm going to try to do content more frequently. I was working on a video dealing with the food shortages that are being that we will see shortly. Um, my the data that I had on it, the articles and everything, I lost them, so I have to go back and get those so I can do that video. Look for that later this week. Also, I do more than likely I will be back on Jeannie's show next week. Even if I'm not on Jeannie's show next week, his show comes on 10 a.m. on every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Kimathi lives. Um, and I will try to put the link in the description for that. Again, you can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical1, on Twitter at dc underscore radical underscore ONE, and OTW2 at DC Radical 1. And the Cash App is $ DC Radical 1. And and also, because I forgot about this, we were talking about the small hats on my OTW2 page. If you haven't signed up for OTW2, sign up for OTW2. On my own OTW2 page, I have the first part of a documentary called Europa that deals with the small hats historically from basically the last 100 years or so. It's an excellent documentary. I will say, however, the documentary was made by white supremacists, but the information is correct and valid. It's very well researched, and it'll give you good insight into the small hats, and will give you some insight into some things that are going on and things that they are planning to do right now. So go on over to OTW to watch Europa. I plan to basically release or to post a uh in essence an episode of that documentary once a week over on OTW2, because there's nowhere in the world I could put it up on YouTube. It will be taken down immediately. And peace and black power to brother Patrick, who I don't know if you just came in, brother, but you came in. If you did just come in, you came in right before we are about to close out. And brother, you got ripped off says Agenda 2030 is already in effect. So, and I'll just say this real quick. Um, Straight Black Pride, it is having or has had over the last few weeks classes on how to grow food, any person here who has that skill set, build you a collective of people and teach them how to do that. It's going to be very important. They're ramping up these food shortages right now, and nothing causes chaos and societal breakdown like a food shortage. They are attacking, okay, mysterious incidents are happening in food processing plants across America. That's what I'm saying. If you watch the I believe the first episode, or maybe the second. I believe it's the first episode though. But if you go to OTW Tube and you watch the first episode of Europa, and then you go to the headlines on food shortages, you'll be amazed to see history repeating itself in another place. So, what I may do next show, I may do. This is what I'll probably do. I'll do a video on that, and then I'll do a show on it to expand from the video. So, okay, since Vanessa says she's already purchased seeds and stocking up on water, and a lot of poultry plants have burned down too. Right, right, exactly, exactly. And of course, Bill Gates and others are working on making this fake meat. So, real meat being eliminated, fake GMO, we don't even know what's really going on meat is coming online. It's a whole there's a whole lot to that. And we'll get into that on another show. So again, I thank you all for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Send this to your friends and family and anybody that you think might be interested. Don't forget to go check out that Europa on OTW Tube. And if you haven't made your account on OTW Tube, just make your account on OTW Tube. You can send me a friend request over there. Again, I'm DC Radical One. You can follow me on Instagram at DC.radical1, on Twitter, DC Radical underscore Radical ONE. The Cash App, $ DC Radical One. Of course, this is the YouTube, capital D, small C Radical One. And you can email me at DC.radical underscore one at protonmail.com. And with that, I say, Bibi Fahodier and straight black pride.